We come now to our time of the Old Testament lesson, which is found in the book of Daniel, chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2, we will begin in verse 31 and read through verse 45. You saw, O king, and behold, a great image. This image was mighty and of exceeding brightness, stood before you, and its appearance was frightening. The head of this image was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its middle and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. As you looked, a stone was cut out by no human hand, and it struck the image on its feet of iron and clay, and broke them into pieces. Then the iron and the clay and the bronze and the silver and the gold all together were broken in pieces and became like chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, so that not a trace of them could be found. But the stone that was struck in the image became a great mountain and filled the earth. This was the dream. Now we will tell the king of its interpretation. You, O king, the King of kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom and the power and the might and the glory, and into whose hand he has given, wherever they dwell, the children of men, the beasts of the field, and the birds of the heavens, making you rule over them. You are the head of gold. Another kingdom inferior to you shall arise after you, and yet a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. And there shall be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, because iron breaks into pieces and shatters all things. And like iron that crushes, it shall break and crush all these. And you saw the feet and toes, partly of the potter's clay and partly of iron. It shall be a divided kingdom. But some of the firmness of iron shall be in it, just as you saw iron mixed with the soft clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly brittle. As you saw the iron mixed with soft clay, so they will mix with one another in marriage, but they will not hold together, just as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever. Just as you saw that a stone was cut from a mountain by no human hand, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. A great God has made known to the king what shall be after this. The dream is certain, and its interpretation is sure. Well, the last time we were with the prophet Daniel, we were in chapter 7, and that was when we were with Daniel's own vision that God had given him about the coming kingdom. In this chapter, chapter 2, we are having Daniel interpret King Nebuchadnezzar's dream that God had given him. Now, this was not a welcome dream for King Nebuchadnezzar. At the beginning of chapter 2, we are told that he was not able to get any sleep, and this was very frightful to him. And he called all of his magicians and enchanters and sorcerers to tell him what the dream meant and what was going on, to give him some explanation. And of course, all of these best and brightest of Babylon could not tell him what was going on. In verse 38, Daniel identifies King Nebuchadnezzar as the head of gold. Now, you can imagine for a king, especially one who is constantly being praised, such as in verse 4 of this chapter, where anybody who addresses him would address him as, "O king, live forever." You can imagine that he might have been pleased to have been the head of gold. It is probably less comforting to him that Daniel spoke of kingdoms that would follow his, even if they were, as he says, lesser kingdoms. Now, we see that all of these kingdoms will fall. What is the thing that will cause these kingdoms to fall? Well, in verse 44, the God of heaven will set up a never-ending kingdom, and it's the stone that will accomplish this. Now, what can we think of? Who is this stone? What is this stone that is going to accomplish this never-ending kingdom? Well, in Luke 20, verses 17 and 18, we have Christ saying, "The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken into pieces, and when it falls on anyone, it will crush him." And he's talking about himself as being the cornerstone. And so here we have Christ who said he is the cornerstone, this one that will bring in the new kingdom that will have no end. We know that we are told in the New Testament that we are not of this world, that we are of the heavenly kingdom. And when did Christ inaugurate this kingdom? Well, we spoke about this last time, but in Matthew 12:28, "But if it is by the Spirit of God that I cast out demons, then the kingdom of God has come upon you." So that was the Pharisees. That was Christ's response to the Pharisees when they said, well, you're just healing all these people and casting out these demons because you're in league with the devil. And Christ says, no, I am not. I'm telling you, the kingdom of God has come. So he inaugurated on his first coming, and then at his second, it will be perfected. This is the kingdom that will come. Now, what is our message that we're to take from this? Well, all human kingdoms will come to an end. You are not of this world. You are not of the kingdom of President Trump. You are not of the kingdom of President Biden. You are not even of the kingdom of the United States of America. And you might have seen scenes this week that disconcerted you. One track to try and keep yourself at peace might be to convince yourself that no, there really is a strong foundation. However, these verses would contradict that. There is no man-made foundation that will last. The kingdom of God will conquer all, and that is where our allegiance is.